All right, so yesterday we looked at adding, subtracting polynomials, looked at what were polynomials, monomials, binomials. Today we're going to look at how do you find the product of each expression. How do you find the product of multiplying something by a binomial or trinomial? So our first example, we've got multiplying a monomial, x squared, times a trinomial, 6x squared minus 3x minus 1. And basically what this is really cool. It's basically just distributive property on steroids. So what you do is, instead of distributing like a number into a binomial or a number into two things, you're distributing this monomial in to all three of these. And all you're doing is you're multiplying. So when we do x squared times 6x squared, we should get 6x to the fourth. Now remember, you are adding the exponents because x squared is x times x, and you are multiplying that times 6 times x times x, which is x squared. So I've got 4 x's, 2 here, 2 there, being added together, and a 6 that goes in front of them. I'm going to erase that for you. All right, so now we're doing x squared times negative 3x, which gives us negative 3x to the third, because there's that imaginary 1 there that you've got to add in. So x squared, adding that 1 on to the third, and then also minus x squared. So x squared minus 1, the negative sign comes out front, which makes it negative from the negative 1. And then 1 times x squared gives you x squared. And you're done. So it's the same process as distributive property, except instead of it being just a number out front, it's an expression, like x squared. All right. So look at the next one. We've got 4d squared times 2d plus 3 minus 7d squared. So we'll start out looking at what is our process. We're doing 4d squared times 2d. So we multiply the numbers together, so that gives us an 8. So 8. And then d squared times d ends up being d to the third, because again, you're adding that imaginary 1. Now let's look at our next one. So 4d squared times 3, so that gives us a positive 12d squared. And then lastly, we've got 4d squared times negative 7d squared, which gives us negative 28 d to the fourth. One last thing to do, just like how in fractions you always have to reduce your fraction as much as possible, when you're working with binomials and polynomials, one thing you need to do is always order them correctly. So ordering them involves making sure you go from the biggest exponent, in this case x to the, or d to the fourth, to your smallest exponent, which is d to the second. Remember the signs travel with them, so in this case we're going to get negative 28d to the fourth, and then we're going to add in, so plus 8d to the third, because that's positive. And then lastly, we've got a plus 12d squared. So they're going in descending order, d to the fourth, d to the third, d to the second. Now I didn't mention that in our top one, because they already were that way. 4, 3, 2. So make sure you're ordering those as best you can. So descending order is always a big piece of it. So that's just multiplying basic ones. So what we're going to look at is something a little more complicated. And what that is called FOIL. And FOIL is an acronym, meaning that it is a set of letters that stands for a word or a phrase. In this case, FOIL is all about order. So this is the first multiplied together. This is the outers multiplied together. These are the inners multiplied together. And these are the lasts multiplied together. And what that means is it's the order in which you're multiplying. So our expression over here, 2x plus 3 times 6x minus 7. So you have two binomials, because they each have two terms, and they're being multiplied together. Now this FOIL only works in this case where you have two binomials multiplied together. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these two. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply the first. So the first, meaning the first term in this one, times the first term in that one. So this one times that one. So 2x times 6x gives us 12x squared. We've got the imaginary 1 there, the imaginary 1 there, and we're adding those together. So that's our first. Our outers means it's the outside one, so the 2x and the outside one over here. So first outers. So that's 2x times negative 7, which is a negative 14x. Next we have our inners, so that's the inside one, inside and inside. So positive 3 times 6x gives us a positive 18x. And then last of all, we have our last. So that means the last one in here and the last one in there. So we have positive 3 times negative 7, which is a minus 21. Last thing we have to do is we have to make sure that we combine any like terms. So in this case, we have 12x squared. Our negative 14x and our positive 18x ends up being a positive 4x minus 21. All right. So I'm going to give you, there's one more down there. We have 4x minus 2 squared. It's the same as the last one, except that one, by squaring it, it means you're multiplying it by itself. So this is really 4x minus 2 times 4x minus 2. So what I want you to do is take a second, pause your video, and try that one on your own. See how you do. Get it in your notes, and then we'll go back together, and we'll go through it. All right, so you should have gotten is 16x squared minus 16x plus 4. So the first multiplied together, 4x times 4x is 16x squared. The outers is 4x times negative 2, which gives you negative 8x. The inners, negative 2 times 4x, gives you negative 8x. And then the last, negative 2 times negative 2 gives you a positive 4. Then I combine the negative 8x and negative 8x to get a negative 16x in the center. So you have 16x squared minus 16x plus 4. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully you had a good chance, got some notes down, and we will see you tomorrow in class.